That in there as well, and the leasehold improvements, same thing.
We have
Yes,
a
ma'am.
lot of things on our inventory list, a lot of old property and equipment and stuff that was really scrapped and didn't exist anymore. And we had not taken it off the books because when you're in deficit and you take it off the books, it'll make it look even worse. So anyway, they decided to clean that up this year. So that's why that number is so large. It's not any one thing that happened in this last year, but it's a combination of since day one probably. They got rid of a bunch of scrap stuff.
1973. Since 1973, that day.
I'm thinking as far back as I can see, I don't know if, I can't say 73, but when they did start in 73, when they got to the building they're in now, they did a lot of repairs and all that kind of stuff was leasehold improvements. Well, you know, since then, we've done the little minor stuff, so we just wrote up all that stuff that wasn't in existence anymore, cleaning up the books.
And that represents 384,725. That's your deletion.
Yes.
You can turn to page 44, where it talks about our executive director's pay, which is $99,290 plus the benefits.
44.
And she had $41 in reimbursements, so something she paid for, and we had to give it back to her.
And this page is a requirement by the state legislative auditor. Every, especially nonprofits, every organization, your top executive, they have to publish that information in the audit report.
And finally, page 50 is highlighted. And this is the most important page to me. It talks about the compliance with operating lease terms and the condition. So the only finding that we had that was negative was the same one that we continue to get every year, that we can't do anything about the $2.5 million insurance premium on the building that's probably worth $200,000. So this is gonna be a repeat finding on page 50 until we are able to get out of the building. There's no way out of this. No insurance carrier will put more coverage. And if you find one that will, let me know so I can put $2 million worth of coverage on my house. It's just not gonna do that. So that's the finding. I think they wanted a coverage of $5 million or something, and that's the only finding. We had a clean audit. No other findings. As we said, everything that they required us to do, the staff did it. Those corrections were made, and so other than that, we had a clean audit findings. And so the auditor's recommendation was the council should try to renegotiate the terms of this lease agreement with the city of Baton Rouge to modify the insurance coverage requirement. That's something that we already looked at, and we know it's impossible to talk to the city parish, almost. But we'll continue to try to get out of the building. That's one of the reasons why we move forward with purchasing a new property and getting into our own building, so that we won't have to have these continued high costs of keeping the building up and running and keeping heat and air in the building for the employees and the seniors. So that's one of the reasons why we moved towards that, because the city is not going to put that kind of money in that building, and we don't expect them to. So that's why we're moving forward with getting a new facility where we can get the proper insurance on it, and that's when this finding will go away. We will have 0 findings. So,
Madam Treasurer, if I may, this audit is a testament to our finance department and our R&A department. This is the first clean audit that the agency has had in well over 20 years.
And yeah, my hat's off to Ms. Pratt, Madam Pratt, who will not let me use the wrong word or the wrong sentence in doing a financial report. Okay, so.
As far as the finding goes, you never get a carrier to like you for what.
Right, and if you find them, again, send them to me, and I'm gonna put $2 million worth of coverage on my house.
That's fine.
And
And that was the That was a report from the finance committee.
The audit.
And I like the audit. I'd like to make a motion that you all accept the reporting of the audit.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Representative. And I might add that the additional staff that we were able to hire last year had a lot to do with that.
Right.
Because we went from actually 2 people doing all of this work, not counting payroll, and we hired 3 additional people. So the additional help had a lot to do with these findings being eliminated. There were 2 issues as far as your agreed upon procedures were concerned that we hadn't settled, and that was the person that does accounts payables should not be the person that add and delete vendors from our vendor list. Well, there were only 2 people in the department. So now that we have additional people, that duty has been assigned to someone who has no dealings with payables itself. So that will be fine. And the other thing is, when checks are signed, he said ideal thing would be once the last person who signs is usually Tasha, that she would actually mail the checks out. Well, I knew that wasn't gonna happen, so I told him we gotta find somebody else to do that. So we're using the same person in my department who does not have direct input into payables as far as hands-on doing. So that person will now be the ones who actually mail the checks out, and not the person who's preparing the checks. So that's settled that.
That's in your little book, right?
That's in the little book here. Yeah. And like I said earlier, they are required to do these state agreed upon procedures along with the audit report every year. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is paid holidays. Management came up with a list of paid holidays for 2019. The only change that we made was that usually we get 2 days for Mardi Gras, which is Mardi Gras and Fat Tuesday. This year, because Christmas falls in the middle of the week, the staff management decided that we were going to take the Mardi Gras day and use it as a day after Christmas. That's what we found this year. A lot of people who live out of town, including me, if you go out of town for Christmas Day, in order to get back to work, you gotta leave wherever you are on Christmas Day to get back to work. So this year we changed the holiday to take the day after Christmas as opposed to Mardi Gras, the day before Mardi Gras. All right. So we need board approval on the paid holidays for 19.
Do I hear a motion to approve the paid holidays for 2019?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
The next item is the state approved travel form. We talked this morning about the PPM 49. Even though it's not state required, we still do it. So our employees will be authorized to use their personal vehicles when they are traveling on company business. So I need your approval to do that.
Ms. Pratt, this is the form that all the, like, care workers and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
use to get their mileage?
Yeah, what we do, we have all the employees sign it, because you never know when I might be asked to go do something in my car. So we just have all the employees to sign this form, so if I have to go take care of company business, then I'm covered. What'd you say? I never use my car though. But anyway, that's what this form.
I know of one time, Ms. Pratt.
Oh, okay.
I know one time when I met you at the.
Oh, yeah, we do meet all the time. But that's the last, need approval on that for.
Do I hear a motion to approve the state travel
So
form?
moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's keep it moving. Budget revisions?
Okay, in your packet you have a proposed budget amendment and budget approved by the city of Baton Rouge for 2019. I gave you that for informational purposes because this had been submitted to you last June before we submitted it to the city. So I gave you a copy of that just as a refresher to let you know what they did approve for us. And it's $11,115,527 is what the city approved for our operating budget for 2019. What since June of last year, things have changed. As we say, every day is a fluid day for operations, so anything might come up. Our planning changed. We hire more people. We venture into new projects and stuff. So our budget needs to be altered or revised, I should say, from what we submitted and got approved. It needs to be revised. The first page in your packet, though, is a list of what the monies that we actually received from the city parish last year. Now, notice after the January 19th, that first big payment we got, I added in election costs and city retirement because they didn't actually give that to us, but it came from our money.
They deducted it before.
They
sent us
deducted
the
it
money.
before we got it. So those are the amounts that they did deduct. So I had to include it into money because it legally is ours. We would have to turn around and pay it anyway, so. Our
Do you want to
total, the
explain
total,
what that means, that we
City
have to pay the city for city retirement?
well, yes, we do. They told me it was did they say a statute or ordinance, whatever they call it? Yeah.
So by statute, we have to give the city part of the millage in order to fund their city retirement.
Parts of it, yeah.
That we don't benefit from it.
No, we were not included in that retirement.
I just wanted to make sure it was clear on the record.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So that will happen again this year. They will take out their money for their retirement. But anyway, this is the total amount that we received in 2018. Now, when we got, if you notice in the city budget, they got 9.2 million. I don't know where they got that figure from. They may have some money down there that's still out.
They do.
Okay.
December collection, we haven't received it yet.
Okay, then, so that must be the difference. But anyway, I'm going for what we actually received. That's what I did my budget amendment based on, in case we don't get any more than what they
That's the
get.
people paying taxes on December the 31st.
That's a lot of people. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
Better late than never, Councilwoman.
Page 2 and 3 of that packet is the combined operating budgets for 2019. You notice I have the year 2 tax budget of 2019 and FY 18 general budget. Okay. No. Okay, I gotta stand on this one.
Did you stand up?
I'm gonna stand up on this one.
You heard what Papa said.
Huh?
Don't keep you stand up there.
That's so smart. I need, what I have here.
Come to the mic.
It's not a page, we have a conflict here. What's in the thing is not. Give me a minute.
Okay,
Okay, this one.
okay.
I just want to make sure we're talking from the same report.
Right.
Okay. All right. The budget you're looking at should say $9,067,819. That's what I see. Okay, good. I thought we had the wrong one. That was in my book, my packet. The wrong one. But anyway, so that's our revenue for the year from the city. And from the state, we will get 1.872517. Now, when we get the 1.872, now that too was approved June 1st because we had to submit it to the GOA by the end of June, okay? So that has already been approved as well. What we're amending is this first column. All right. We see our program salaries, 3.2 million, administrative salaries, 376, and the fringe associated with that. On the next page, page 3, you'll see, page 4, excuse me, you'll see the fringe calculation. It includes all of the stuff that we have to pay. It includes health insurance, life, and it also includes a 3% retirement. As you all approved the retirement for staff, it will go into effect, it has gone into effect the 1st of January this year.
Yay.
And employees can, it's a plan that matches up to 3% for the employee, of course, they can put up to 5% in the plan. But now, if you may be a little older like me, I think it's 55, I just made it 55. If you're 55, then you can do what they call catch-up. And I think there's a limit, you can add an additional 6,000. I think the maximum amount now that you can put in before age 55 is 19,000 a year. But if you're 55, you can do catch-up, they give you another extra 6,000 you can put in retirement. So anyway, we have put that plan into play, and we are doing retirement for our employees.
Right.
All right. And then go back to your back page, we have our travel. The other thing is advertising and printing. Tasha told you that we were, instead of us trying to do it all ourselves, we hired a marketing department, we hired a whole department. We have marketing staff now.
Right.
And with that, we have to give them money to operate. So including the 10 that they get from GOA, they'll have a $20,000 budget to start with, and just operate with. I'm not gonna go through line for line. If you see anything you need to ask a question on, please do. I needed to bring that to your attention.
Does this
Can I go
something?
back and ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Jennifer, you addressed it, but I just hadn't heard this before, so I'm not sure I understand. Why did we pay $261,000 plus to the city for
The
retirement?
city requires that we do, there's a statute that requires that we pay the city that amount for their city retirement, but it doesn't
But none
benefit
of our
any of
employees
us.
benefit.
It doesn't benefit COA.
Well, what the guy from LA Champagne said was that they're not just doing it to us,
No.
but
Correct.
anybody who they accept a millage from. So understand that if they accept your millage, then a percentage of that goes towards their retirement.
City retirement.
I want to do some research on that,
Yeah.
but I had questions about it as well. So, but that is not just specific to the Council on Aging. That is to any agency that receives a millage and it comes through the city of Baton Rouge.
That's very interesting.
And they have a pro rata formula that they use, that's counted on your amount of meals. So we're at 2.25 meals. Some kind of way they come up with this formula.
Maybe they come up with the number.
Right.
Ms. Pratt, does this budget include the rental of the additional?
It's because GOEA will allow you to pay rental space for senior centers. I put most of that under their budget.
Right.
Okay.
Makes sense.
So yes, it does, this budget does include that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. We went over the benefits page. The next page is capital outlay. And this is the one that's really fluid. It changes probably every quarter as we change. No, that's not a bad thing. But anyway, the one thing I'd like to bring to your attention on this one, I have a senior stat on there. We have a $50,000 maintenance that we have to pay, maintenance and technical support that we have to pay every year on that particular one. And then we have to buy cards for new members that join. We have to pay for additional cards. Now, we already got, in last year's budget, we paid our percentage, 5% on the DOTD buses. But we have one bus budgeted in here that we're going to try to accompany their buses. I say their buses because even though we're using them, they're giving them to us, there's still some limitations. And they'll just explain that to you when we get to that point about what we can and can't do with their buses. But anyway, we're going to buy one bus. Tasha said 4, but we're going to buy one bus. And if we get more money than we budgeted, that would be a priority, I told her.
I said 4 and she said no. Tell the truth.
We can apply for more. July will apply for more.
Thank you, Doc. Now, another thing I noted here, we had encumbered the cost to do like homewood improvements and Dumas out of last year's budget. But the estimate came back from Dumas, it's gonna be higher than the 350,000 that they thought. So right now we're up to like 65,000. So I just added 100,000 and covered any other costs that might come up so that they can go and finish that parking lot at Dumas house. So this 100 is here, but we had 350 from last year. And then the last 2 sheets, 6 and 7, those are just a list of our contractors that we use. If they, like I said, if we pay them and they're not an employee, then they'll be on this list. So that, I'm not gonna go through that unless y'all have questions. And what we would like to amend would be this proposed budget to amend the one that was submitted last May to the city.
I'll make a motion that we accept the amendment.
For me to go through.
Do I hear a
I
second?
second that motion.
All those in favor? Opposed? All right. Personnel Committee report?
I just personnel committee report to see the sexual harassment. And speak up a little bit, Ms. Cooper.
School teacher voice.
We said, all right. Under the sexual harassment policy, Dr. Gilmore informed the committee that the agency needed to update the sexual harassment policy to reflect the requirements of the new Sexual Harassment Act of the 2018 legislation, which became effective January 1, 2019. So it was moved by Jamie, and it was motioned by Jamie that we accept the sexual harassment policy to reflect the 2018-19 legislation. And Jennifer second, that we implement our sexual harassment policy along with the one that we have in the state. So when you merge the two, we'll have one sexual harassment policy. Any questions?
Yeah, this one's way more thorough than the prior one, so.
It is.
Do I hear a motion to accept the second?
You're on it.
Okay.
Second, we need a second.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Oh, okay. All those in favor? Opposed? All right. Now, I need to hear a motion to move into executive session.
I'll make a motion.
All those in favor? Okay. Where do we go?
Stay here.
Wait.
And as we discussed earlier, actually, no votes will be taken, no motions will be offered, it's just discussion. Did I not say opposed? I'm sorry, is anybody opposed to us moving into executive session?
It was unanimous.
During the session?
You have to, we have to do a roll call
Do a
vote.
roll call first, going into executive session to see who's entering. Yes. On to informational items, CEO report. Yes.
I make a motion to amend the agenda to discuss the salary of the CEO.
All those in favor? Opposed?
I have a question.
So let me do that again. All those in favor of Jamie's motion, seconded by Chief Dunn, to discuss Ms. Amar's salary. All those in favor? Anyone opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
No.
Okay, motion carries.
I make a
They
motion.
had a nay over here.
It still carries. So we open it up for discussion.
Ma'am,
Wait.
I make a motion to move back into executive session to discuss the salary of the CEO.
Okay. All those in favor?
Roll call.
Yeah, let's do it roll call. His motion is to move back into executive session to discuss this Amar's salary.
Okay. That already carried, okay, so we have to just do a
Roll call to make sure.
to make sure.
Attorney Jennifer Moses.
Yay.
Ms. Jerry Booker.
Yay.
Derek Cole. Ms. Patricia Williams.
Yay.
Councilman Sean Burns.
Yay.
Attorney Steve Shirley. Representative C. Denise Marcel.
Yay.
Reverend Leo Cyrus.
Yay.
Ms. Pamela Ann Mitchell.
Nay.
Mr. Jamie Robertson.
Yay.
Chief Paul Dunn. Yay. Ms. Di Kidwell.
Yay.
Motion carried.
All right, everybody.
We out here.
This one is housing. As we met before in the past, we have decided, we in the board and the administration, that we want to expand our footprint in senior housing. As you know, we have one property, which is the Dumas House. There's 64 units within that property, and we keep a 500-person waiting list at all times. And so our objective this year is to begin to locate property in the area of the new administrative building. There's a lot of vacant land all around us, and purchase that property, and so we can get ready to partner either with a developer or another nonprofit agency to build some additional senior housing for our seniors. We have our social workers on a daily basis are looking for housing for folks, and there's just none here. And so there are exorbitant lists and waiting lists for seniors to who need housing. And so that's something we'll be working on for 2019. We're working with the Housing Authority, Gulf Coast, Kathy, the board, and some other folks that we are meeting with. We hired a new housing director who's going to help us put together. They're supposed to be here. I'm gonna introduce you to these people. I don't see her yet. But she put together the show for Scotlandville CDC, and Ms. Marion Zachary, she ran a lot of housing projects, so she's going to come and help us beef up our management at Dumas as well as expand our footprint. She's going to be, yes, she's going to work, yes. Transportation, we mentioned in the retreat that we have been given a DOTD grant from the Department of Transportation. Our first year, we're receiving 5 buses from them. They're being built. They're due to arrive end of February, early March. We have to have our own independent staff. They will get training from DOTD. They'll do the logistics. But these buses will be utilized to pick up seniors from their homes and give them a ride to our centers. We'll do some day trips. We're going to take them shopping, to the grocery store, to doctor's appointments. Mr. Jonathan Stagg was hired as our new director of transportation. Stagg. And Mr. Kevin Galloway is the coordinator. He's going to do all logistics and all the routes. These gentlemen have a lot of transportation experience, so we look forward to seeing our buses on the road here shortly. Marketing. As I mentioned to you in the retreat, we decided that we just can't keep doing it ourselves. We hired a consultant last year. It didn't really pan out that well, so we hired a director of marketing as well as a marketing coordinator. That is Attorney Angel Jackson, Attorney Johnson, and Ms. Kendra Brown. And they will be doing the marketing for us. They're going to develop a plan, one, to address, or try to address some of the people's, opinions and ideas, perceptions of the council. They will also work on our polished publication to make it better, and employee newsletters, mailers, and publications to our seniors, press issues, social media, and do more. We're going to do better at telling our own story and blowing our own horn. So we welcome these ladies, and we look forward to great work from them. Number 2, capital outlay. So I'm going to give you some brief updates on where we are with our projects. As you know, we closed on the Fuqua property. We now own it. That's 3 acres. We are in the process. By next Tuesday of next week, we'll sign our master service agreement with Mr. Didier. We had our attorneys, Zil Saxon, Wilson, Murphy, they designed a disadvantaged business enterprise program within our MSA. We did that because we were given $4.7 million from the bank to build the 25,000 square foot building. And what we wanted to do is make sure that everybody had fair access to bid for this money. And so Brazil, Saxon, Wilson, they kind of mimic what New Orleans does for DBEs, and we're going to do 25% of the $4.7 million must go to disadvantaged businesses, minorities, women, whatever. So 25% of all funds will go to them. Right? Okay, Dumas House Apartment and Senior Center. Ms. Pratt mentioned in her report to you all. So Dumas House has a major problem. It is not that the water is just billowing in the parking lot. the sewer pipe and system under the ground is pitched 6 inches back into our property. Then everybody's property around us is pitched 6 inches onto our property, creating a bowl. So we had to get a full drainage study. We have civil engineers and water engineers. Long story short, we designed what we want to do. The city said no, because they don't want us to push the water that they're pushing on us back into Sherwood Forest. Right? Because the water is supposed to go across Sherwood Forest to the canal that's always jammed up with trash. And so they are in talks with Public Works and Neighborhood Works. And if all else fails, they're gonna go talk to Mr. Rayford, and then we may have to get a couple of you all to talk to the mayor. But this is gonna cost us $411 million to rectify.
411,000.
I'm sorry, $1,000.
I'm gonna tell you not to.
$1,000.
Those people can come live with me.
My initial budget was $350, so we have to add an additional $65,000. But basically, what we're gonna do is create a cauldron under the ground, almost like a concrete swimming pool, that will hold a certain amount of milliliters of water, and there will be a pump in there that will pump it off of our property every 10 or 15 minutes or something. However they
don't release
in
slowly.
theory, they'll release it
It's
slowly.
built to like use evaporation and all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff
Mhm.
to get rid of it when it's not always raining.
So that's where we are with Dumas House. Homewood Aquatic Center, we're still in the design phase. We found out that part of the property that runs into ours belongs to Entergy. Now, back in the day, Entergy gave us a section of it, but not all of it. So legal and Dr. Gilmore is in talks with Entergy about getting them to donate the rest of it's a little strip of property so that we can do the expansion and build up the swimming pools and do all the things that we need. That's Homewood. As you heard earlier, we finished Antioch, we did the renovations, and we have seniors coming in every day. 15,000 square feet. Finally got our final permit, and we're just waiting on a covenant, from the owner saying that we won't put more than 300 to 500 people in the facility at any given time, just so that we don't have any fire marshal issues. And after that, Antioch will be done and closed. 1701 Main Street, these are all construction projects. 1701 Main Street, we finally finished the design phase. The graphic looks great, and it is going to the Metro Council at the end of this month, is my understanding. We finally got a project number from the feds, so we should be moving once they bid out. The contractor takes 30 to 60 days, but here shortly we should be putting some shovels in our hand to do a groundbreaking. So
What do we need from Metro Council long ago on that issue?
No. They the architect and the city area, they'll do that.
Okay.
They already gave it to the Metro.
Okay.
Woodville Annex Office, we mentioned, the chairwoman mentioned earlier that we had to rent some additional space because we have so many people we're serving. We had to get more folks, and of course, 5790 is jam-packed to the hilt with people and files. So we ended up renting the old Savard temporary staff and second building on Wooddale for, I think, $2,000 a month, until we move into the new building in 18 months. PMAS, we mentioned that earlier. All staff has been evaluated and ranked and scored by their supervisors. Recommendations from their supervisors to me for merit increases were given. And so if they made their benchmarks, they either received a merit increase of 2.5% to 4%, depending on what their score was. And last but not least, if you see these dates, we have our management staff retreat begins today. Where is it? It's on your left-hand side of your folder. This afternoon, we'll be traveling to New Orleans just to finish brainstorming and getting the rest of the calendar together, and we're going to go over some programmatic activities.
I don't know if I wasn't in the room, but did you mention the fire station? It's not on there?
No, it's not on there yet. I didn't mention it because the RDA asked us to give them until Tuesday of next week to come back with our counter office.
Right, well,
So I didn't mention it because it's not complete. I wanted to wait till I got all the information. Okay. That's what we offered. But we're waiting on him to accept that offer. Okay, so the fire station on Gushon, 38th and Gushon appraised, the city found their own appraiser. And the old fire station appraised for $75,000. Now, we don't believe that it's valued at that. And our realtor and our architect believes that $10,000 is a fair offer. We offered them $10,000. They asked till Tuesday to either accept our offer or counter offer. So we're waiting to hear that.
Can you tell me when that conversation had? Do you remember approximately? Because I spoke to him last week.
Last week.
And he said that they were accepting the $10,000.
Did he say that? So he hadn't told us
They
yet.
told you that, but what happens is, he hasn't told us yet,
And so maybe I need to call him and remind him to tell y'all.
Yeah, let him tell us. And we waiting on legal to tell us.
Yeah, when our attorney tells us, we're consider it official.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
okay.
Okay.
But I just want you to know I had that
We had that
conversation.
Okay, so, I don't know if you know, but all of the National Aging Network, National Meals on Wheels, the American in Aging Conference, the National N4A Conference, they're all in New Orleans. I have been asked to co-chair, and in your book you see this, I am the co-chair of Aging in America 2019 Conference. Back in your book, board members want to go, there's a discount, and Ms. Pratt has told me that the agency can pay for board members to go to aging training. Yeah, because you that is,
I wonder about the DC.
April 15th to the 18th. We're not paying for that? We're not paying for
You
that.
would go during the session, right?
Oh, you're in session? Okay.
Yeah.
Also, because we're co-chairing that, so they want us to, of course, we're gonna be bringing a lot of staff. All of us will go and participate. Chantel and I, they have put us in the Harvard Leadership Intensive class in here for 4 days. So I'll spend my 4 days in class, but the other staff will be in multiple classes, and I'll speak on a couple of topics in this book as well. Then we're gonna be going to the senior center folks will be going to Dallas, no, I'm sorry, to DC, I haven't told them yet, for the National Conference on Aging, where senior centers will be talking, look at Charlotte. The N4A conference is in New Orleans. I am a committee chairman on that conference as well. We are in charge of planning the party. So we got Zulu and the flame throwing Indians, and we have a crawfish boil. Me and the director in New Orleans, we throwing the welcome party for the folks for N4A. Also, for your knowledge, February 4th through the 8th, because we increased our meals so drastically and so quickly without complaints. They're coming to find out how we did that. The U.S. Government Office on Accountability, the GAO office that reports to Congress, wants to find out what they can take and mirror from us to take to other places across the country. So they'll be here.
Before the shutdown,
They coming. They's working through the shutdown.
Okay.
So they'll be here February 4th through the 8th. We're gonna take them. They wanna go see 4 or 5 of our centers. They'll spend a day in the kitchen. And so we'll have a Mardi Gras welcome theme activity for them. So we'll ask you all to come out and meet. It'll be 4 representatives from DC and from the congressional office.
they're using us as a model.
They're using us as a model.
That is awesome.
They will be awesome. And with that being said, Madam Chair, that's my report.
Do I hear any other business? No business, other business, then, motion.
Ms. Williams has a question.
First, I'd like to thank you all for the shirt. You know when are we to wear them?
Whatever you want.
Whenever you want to. When meetings, when you go to represent the agency, that's
Wednesday.
no, don't
How do we
worry.
get our parking validated?
Yes.
I have those.
You have that? Okay.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to
All right.
Second.
All
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.